To the Point with Michael Williams.
Good morning. Navigating the economy, the world of inventive spirit and entrepreneurial spirit, and doing so with domestic and world events pressing in from all sides. My guest this morning, Michael Kupinski, Director of Research for Noble Capital Markets, which showcases emerging growth companies and is holding its annual gathering at Florida Atlantic University. We appreciate you being our guest today, and you have some big names that gather here. Tell me about one of them that you'll be sitting down to interview.
I'm excited about the fact that I'm going to be interviewing President George W. Bush wide-ranging topics. He basically opened up and allowed me to ask as many questions as I would like for an hour. So we're excited to have him at Florida Atlantic University.
Talk a little bit more about Noble Capital Markets in this gathering. It's a chance for that, as I said at the outset, for entrepreneurial spirit, for investor to come together and to see what's happening in the world, what's worthy of investment, all driving forward together, as you will always promote, for hopefully a better future for all of us. Talk a little more about that, first of all.
Well, this is our 19th year. And so what's exciting about this year in particular, it's our first time that we actually went to a university to host our conference. And I think it's just fitting that we're having it at Florida Atlantic University. The fact that they just built this beautiful executive center and during COVID and never used it. So this is an opportunity to showcase Florida Atlantic University as well as what we're bringing in terms of 80 different companies in the emerging growth area, in all ranges from mining companies to AI companies to media companies. Health, a very big one, very big.
Talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about a forum that I'll be moderating where we'll talk a little bit more about some of the headwinds, tailwinds, and crosswinds of the economy and how you all will try to help people understand where we stand with that. I'll be moderating that panel tomorrow morning, Monday morning. Talk a little bit more for those who say emerging markets. What does that mean to me at home? Talk about how you bring together the best of the investment world and those who are inventing and pushing us forward. I know you have some examples in the health field. They give an example of how that works.
Sure. So the interesting thing is that Noble's mantra has always been, well, if you're looking for the next Apple, this is the orchard, because Apple was never a mega billion-dollar market cap company. And so if you're looking at the opportunities to grow wealth, it's really found in a lot of the small cap names, some that are emerging. And there's some exciting stuff, like you mentioned AI being one of them. But then there's other things like, we talked a little bit about the healthcare, where it's been in the national news about a patient receiving a pig heart. Well, we're going to actually have that patient provide a video at our conference. It's going to unveil the video at our conference talking about, in an emotional way, some of the opportunities that this person has been given just because he's received this particular heart. And I think there's just so many dynamic things to learn about some of these emerging companies that be included.
And so it's that intersection of those who see that as an investment opportunity and for the company itself to continue to push forward with that infusion of capital to help bring things like this to all of us, whether it's in health or AI, on the energy markets and the like. Is that a fair assessment?
That's right. I mean, we're bringing investors, and what's great about Noble is that we're not just bringing institutional investors, but we're bringing high net worth individuals that are interested in investing in some of these developing companies, as well as individual RIAs. So it's very important that we're bringing together a huge investment community to a conference like this.
Let me talk about something, the forum that I'll be moderating. It's called Economic Perspectives, and I want your take on this as the Director of Research. It's written, the U.S. economy being buffeted on many fronts, rising interest rates, global unrest, proxy wars, massive immigration, and a looming potential residential and commercial real estate crisis. All of this with the backdrop of the 2024 presidential election cycle. And the panel that I'll sit with will be talking about that. It'll be an early morning panel, and I can imagine people saying, I just want to pull up the covers and go back to bed. Give me a perspective on the crosswinds, the headwinds that are being faced right now, a broader view for our audience watching today about the real challenges there in that kind of world and environment.
Well, first of all, thanks for moderating the panel. I appreciate that. You're right, the panel's going to discuss a wide range of different topics. And I think it's very important because investors are probably sitting there and looking at the GDP and saying, well, the GDP is up, but I don't really feel it. I see that the stock market is up, but I'm not really seeing that in my 401k. And these topics are part of those dynamics that we're trying to address so that we can, look at the next level of where we want to invest. We also note in this particular panel, we hope to talk about the divergence between the large cap stocks and the small cap stocks. The large cap stocks are really driving the market, but the small cap stocks aren't. And we're hopeful that now that we're seeing the cycle of interest rates kind of come, hopefully the reverse, so that we're not seeing rising interest rates. Maybe next year we could see the Fed actually decrease interest rates. This might provide the opportunity for the small caps to do much better. So we're going to be talking about a lot of those topics.
We know that Wall Street's been on a run in the last month or so, in part because they think that there may be a notion that the Fed's going to hold off or decrease rates next spring. Fed Chairman Mr. Powell has been very circumspect, likely to continue to be. But for people on Main Street watching this who hear what you just talked about and say, you know what, I'm not deeply steeped in investing, so why does that fundamentally, to my pocketbook, my world, matter? Talk about that aspect.
Well, realize that 2/3 of employment is really in the small companies, right? So when you're looking at emerging companies, these are the next companies that could potentially employ tens of thousands of people. So you're really looking at the ground floor of a lot of these developing companies that can become billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar market cap companies. So that's really the driver for the U.S. economy, is these smaller cap companies. And so that's why it's so important to be focused on what's happening in the small cap community.
Talk about, from your long perspective, what else to you is exciting about bringing this kind of brain power, this kind of entrepreneurial and investment spirit together?
Well, what's interesting is that I think it's just at the right time. I think people coming post-COVID are looking at, they're probably zoomed out, and they're wanting to really be face-to-face with management teams and other investors, and I think that is really what this conference does. It's a way to meet the management. And I think the other aspect is that Southern Florida has become just a big hotbed of investment. If you notice that there's been people relocating from New York and New Jersey and Chicago, all here in Southern Florida. Well, I think that maybe taxes are a big part of it. I think maybe escaping some of the issues that are going on in some of the larger cities. But I think Florida, low tax rates, also beautiful climate. I think it's a big draw.
Let me ask you, I've asked it of so many guests in different fields, and I'll ask you, and I'm sure you've answered it so many times. AI, it's all any of us seem to talk about. And even as you were speaking, I can't help but wonder how it changes the paradigm for investors, for inventors, for all of us. Talk about the challenges and the pitfalls. All of us are going to be learning this together, but I know that at a conference like this, we'll hear that. Give me a little sense of what's being talked about out there.
Well, AI is a component that can be filtered into so many different industries, and I think we're going to hear that at the conference. I know media companies particularly are interested in AI development. I know and it really goes across a lot of different industry sectors, and so I think we're going to hear a lot about AI at the conference.
What else? What am I missing? What else with the conference do you want to bring to mind?
Well, I think that overall we have about 80 companies at the conference, and there are a wide range of different topics. And I think there's going to be something there for everyone. So if you're looking at mining, energy, of course we're all talking about looking at green energy and what the opportunities might be in that space. But we're also looking at the prospect of what does it mean with the traditional energy sources like coal and oil and so forth. What is their future like? So we're going to address some of those. And we have some traditional energy companies there as well as some alternative energy companies. And then of course in the media, how that's transitioning into digital and internet. Then we have some technology companies there that are going to be exploring the new technologies of the future. And then we mentioned about the healthcare, a lot of different opportunities in Alzheimer's, and we talked about transplants and a lot of new drugs.
Gene therapy research.
Gene therapy and cancer research and so forth. There's just so many opportunities to learn in this space about the new dynamics of what these companies are working on.
And to marry the people with the intellectual vigor to create those next wave medicines and next energy markets and the like, the next AI invention and inventiveness that we'll see, but to marry that with those who say that's worthy of investment. It's really the essence of kind of capital markets, and it's something, as you said, 19 years now you've been doing this.
Yes, and so many of these companies are looking for money, they're looking for funding as well, and so they're looking for investors. And I think that's really the way that capitalism works in the United States.
Yeah.
So,
final thought?
well, I think it's a dynamic conference. I'm excited that you're going to be there, and thank you for.
I think you got the key interview there. I'm envious for you. But we appreciate your time, and FAU, I know, is excited to have it there. And I know it's not by happenstance. It's a great place for ferment for a lot of young minds who can tap into that as well. And I know you've been doing this for many years and have worked with FAU very closely. We appreciate you giving us a little sense of what's going on. Michael Kupinski, Director of Research, Noble Capital Markets, and ongoing with the big conference, NobleCon. At FAU. Really appreciate you taking a few minutes of your time.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it.
One's running for president, the other might someday. The Sunshine State versus the Golden State. Next.